Real quick, I'm having an issue with this Strato V, right? So I've got a kaleidescape. This is a Strato V kaleidescape, whatever. It's on my AVM 90. This is the issue I'm having with it. First of all, I'm starting to think that the home theater community is a bunch of scam artists. Is what I'm starting to think, So this is my issue with it. A lot of people, recommend this thing. Youth Man, Shane Lee. Shane Lee will recommend anything to anybody that gives them anything for free. So you see, Shane Lee. You hear Gene from Audioholics. All of these people like recommending this Kaleidescape. Tech Enthusiasm. He's obviously a dealer for Kaleidescape. They all recommend it. Oh, this is the in-game source, product, and so I ended up getting one, right? I went to a lot of different shows. Like I went to Expona, Audio Advice Live, and heard a lot of different equipment. I went there to hear the Nautilus is what it is. They're like $100,000 speakers. So I went there to hear the Nautilus, and I seen everything was hooked up to a Kaleidescape. In my mind, I'm like, when I seen that they were doing like a seminar on Kaleidescape and stuff at Audio Advice, I'm like, okay, this is just a product they're trying to use to sell people on. Right. But then I listened to a lot of different theater setups, and I'm like, okay, well, there's something with the Kaleidescape. I did my research, and I decided to pull the trigger on one, and I got the Strato V, right? And I've been looking for like in-game processors and stuff along the way. So I listened to the Storm audio. Sounds amazing. I just didn't like the way it looked. The Lindorf, I didn't like the way it sounded. I didn't like the way it looked. I went to Expona. I didn't like it at all. I listened to a Trinoff, a Altitude 32. It sound pretty similar to the AVM 90, other than it's just like I think 30 something $1,000 for the Altitude 32. The Trinoff what is it? Altitude 16, I think is a little bit more reasonable than the Altitude 32, but it's still unreasonable. It's like $18,000. But I'm like, hey man, in game is in game. If I listen to something and it sounds like extraordinary, like I'm just gonna get it. I've got a big channel. I've got 127,000 on my main channel, 50 million views. I make like a decent disposable income on YouTube. So I'm like, hey, if I, like speakers or whatever, I go to these shows, hear things, processors, whatever. If I like it, I like it, right? But the Trinoff and AVM 90 was a little bit too similar to me, so I didn't see the purpose of really spending much money on the Trinoff. So I watch a lot of things and finally end up with the Strato V, the Kaleidescape, right? And this is because they had, I think it was the Strato C that was hooked up to mostly everything or whatever. Then they came out with the Strato V. So I pulled the trigger on the Strato V. What I am learning, right, is that the home theater community, they're not telling you everything. And I'm saying that to say this. When I got this product and started having issues with it, right? I'll be watching a movie and it just cuts off like mid-movie. You call customer service and they don't want to talk to you. They try to refer you to a dealer. The dealers don't want to talk to you. They try to refer you to Kaleidescape. They say they don't really know nothing about it. And you find out real quick what's really going on. You go on the forums, the AVS forum. If you got questions or issues or whatever, you feel like, hey, this is home theater forum. I could probably present a question and try to see if I can get maybe somebody who may own this thing to help me out, like with what's going on. You find out you get hit with a lot of affiliates and dealers in the comments trying to say you're a troll for asking a simple question because they don't want the public to know what's going on. I even went on as far as going on Facebook asking people questions. I'm like, hey man, I don't know any, because you find out quick there's no real people that have this. It's just dealers and affiliates or people trying to sell you on it, like YouTubers and stuff that get it for free. And I guess their method of paying it back is just to mention it all the time, right? I even went on I think he's following me, shout out to Youth Man. I even went on his forum and said, oh, well, I don't know any real people that have this thing, but I'm having an issue. I got a Sofa Baton remote because I didn't want to get a Harmony Elite remote because they don't really service it anymore. So it's like, why would I pay $500 for a remote that's not going to get any updates or anything? And it's a little sluggish, slow. I had an old processor. A friend of mine's got it, and I'm like, nah, let me get the Sofa Baton. Heard a lot of negative things about the Sofa Baton, heard some positive things about the Sofa Baton. And, I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. If I don't like it, I just take it back to Amazon. No big deal, right? ended up really liking the Sofa Baton controller. Like, I like the activities that it can do, turn on everything, adjust the inputs. It does a lot of different things. Takes a while to set it up, but it does a lot of things that I liked. The Strato V kaleidescape does not come with a remote anymore, like unless you get it through a dealer and they mark that they want it to come with a remote. Other than that, it does not come with a remote anymore. So, I hooked up the Sofa Baton to the kaleidescape and it controlled it, for the most part, did pretty good with it, but no on and off, right? So it won't turn it on and won't turn it off. I think the Harmony does it, but the Sofa Baton doesn't, right? So I, posed the question in a lot of different forums and even on Youth Man stuff. And I'm like, hey, I don't know if it, I don't really know any real people that have this thing, so I'm having an issue, to where the Sofa Baton controller, I can't control the kaleidescape. Youth Man removed me from being able to comment on the post. People were able to comment on it. I couldn't comment on the post. AVS forum, they removed anything I said that was a question on how can I do something or whatever. They removed it from the AVS forum. So that tells me AVS forum probably got like some sort of affiliation or deal or whatever with Kaleidescape. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tech enthusiasm, if I say anything, I get met in his comment section with, he's put off because he's a dealer. He don't want anybody to think anything negative about the product or that it doesn't come with anything. Like, it doesn't come with Wi-Fi. There's no CEC function. Cheap products, cheap receivers have a CEC function, but they don't have one on Kaleidescape, right? And somebody like finally got into a comment, the comment section of one of my posts and said, hey man, I'm gonna be real with you. I think like the people who spend this kind of money on a player are probably spending money on the Control 4. Basically like, yo, this thing is meant for you to just go down the rabbit hole of spending a lot of money. It was what it is. Because if you get a Control 4 system, which I do not want, because you're going to have a dealer set it up. A dealer's going to have to configure it. If an update or something's going on, or you get another piece of equipment to use IP or whatever, the dealer's going to have to come out and do it. Then they're going to overcharge you $1,000 something. You're going to end up paying $1,500 for remotes. And this is one of the issues to why I feel like home theater is dying, because everybody's trying to figure out a way to hustle and rob the home theater enthusiasts. Manufacturers of like products like, Perliston. I've heard Perliston's like subwoofers and speakers. I was not impressed. Gene got on and did a review of something from Audioholics. And I said something like, man, I've heard Perliston speakers and I do not know why everybody is like super promoting these things. I was underwhelmed. He said, oh, well, you've only heard them in trade shows. You got to hear them in a specific home and it's got to be adjusted. And it's like, come on, if these things don't sound good, like in all of these different areas that I've heard them, they probably just don't sound good. And I seen Youth Man. He was doing I think he was at this guy's house. He's got like a YouTube channel, I think like 600-some thousand followers. He helped him set up his JTR system, and it was one time the guy was setting up, I think, Perliston speakers, right? And I think he had a guy like an integrator come in, and he had like a Marantz system, whatever, and they were talking about the subwoofers, and he was like, man, like, I initially thought these things sucked. He slipped up and said it, and it's like, that's kind of what I thought when I heard of Perlistons. I'm like, yo, like, they don't really sound that good. You hear Shane Lee, he's going to pretty much promote anything, like, right? He gets a deal on a Trent-Off, he's going to promote it. If he doesn't get a deal on a PSA subwoofer, power sound audio subwoofer, he's gonna trash it, like he did the TV 2112 M or whatever, like the sealed version. Like, he trashed it because Tom wouldn't give him a free subwoofer review, a review unit or a discount, so he trashed the product. And then tried to double down and have Gene and everybody on there like helping him trash the product, when in all reality, after I've heard the subwoofers at a friend's house, I was just like, yo, like, the subwoofers are definitely not making mechanical noise. They're definitely going low. Edge of Tomorrow's definitely not bottoming out these subwoofers. Blade Runner's not bottoming them out, or Fury, you know what I mean? It's like but he will sit there, and friend Rand Fury didn't bottom out the subwoofers, but he will sit there and tell you that the subwoofers had mechanical noise and were terrible and sound like trash. And I don't know if he just didn't set them up right or he had a blown unit. But then if you think, he didn't even like get rid of the subwoofer for like months. If the subwoofer was so bad, why did you keep the subwoofer for like almost a year and add it to your home theater setup if it was so bad? Because the subwoofer's not bad. He just didn't, he just didn't like Tom because he didn't give him a discount. It's like these things like become obvious the deeper you get into home theater of what's really going on. I am very shocked to see the kaleidescape community. Right? Even like the kaleidescape gurus or whatever on Facebook, just ask a question like, hey man, TV cut off a couple times. Is there a setting that I can, use to try to fix this or whatever? My processor cut off. Is there a setting or something I need to, oh, you're trolling. Oh, we got a troll in here. Oh, you know what you got? You got a real person that's in here that's asking a question because all of you guys are dealers and affiliates. And you're just selling a product, and now that you got a real person in here, it's a problem. Because they're asking a real consumer, like, question. And y'all don't want people to know, and that's why it's priced so high. Because the more people get it, the more word's going to get out that this thing is not what they're saying that it is. Right? 4K UHD. I don't really have too many problems with my UB820. I think I did a couple times. I thought it was the player, but it was really like smudges on the disc. Other than that, I didn't really have like any problems with the UB820. Actually, the tone mapping is really good. And comparing it to my kaleidescape, I think it's just about on par with the kaleidescape. I think there's a few titles that have a little bit more data on the kaleidescape, but are you going to be able to see it on screen? It's negligible. Only thing I like about kaleidescape is the audio. I think like the audio is a little bit less compressed than a disc, even though they say it's like the same. The kaleidescape Atmos sounds more like DTSX in Atmos mix. That's what it sounds like. It's run hotter, whereas like the disc seems like it's a little bit more, it's way more dynamic than streaming, but it seems more compressed than the kaleidescape. So I like the kaleidescape for the audio. But other than that, like I'm starting to see like downloading movies. Like I downloaded Pacific Rim Uprising on a kaleidescape. The Dolby Vision version doesn't even have Atmos. But if you can get the 4K UHD version, it's got Dolby Vision and Atmos. In order to get Atmos on the kaleidescape version, you got to like uninstall like the Dolby Vision Atmos version and then install the HD version of the Uprising Pacific Rim movie, and then it has Atmos. It's like, aren't you guys supposed to have the latest and greatest? Why isn't Atmos on the Dolby Vision? And you find a lot of movies are like that. On the flip side of it, you have, Interstellar may have Dolby Vision where the 4K UHD release doesn't, right? Or Oppenheimer has Dolby Vision where the 4K UHD version may not, right? Like different titles like that, like you will see, or like Blade Runner 2042 has Dolby Vision, whereas the 4K UHD release has HDR. Right, so it's things like that. But then you see Blade Runner with the Dolby Vision, and it doesn't look as good as the HDR version on the kaleidescape. So you might as well just run the HDR version on the kaleidescape. So it's stuff like that. Sometimes the Dolby Vision version is better than the disc version, but for the most part, it's either negligible, or it's a minor improvement, or it's a minor step back. And when you're watching a movie, right? Because this thing, the kaleidescape has a HDMI 2.1, right? So HDMI 2.1, sometimes you get issues or whatever. When you're watching a movie and your processor cuts off, even though you got the standby, no audio signal, like whatever set to never, so it never cuts off. When you're watching a movie and midway through the movie or 15 minutes into the movie, your kaleidescape cuts out, that's an issue, right? And then you always have it in the back of your mind when you're watching a movie, this thing's going to cut off. What if you have friends over to watch and you're running a script and you got friends over to hear demos and then your kaleidescape cuts out? Let me looking at you like, what? Like you just paid all this money for this thing that doesn't work properly, and then you try to call, like Kaleidescape, and they don't want to talk to you to figure out the issue. Once you get this product, you're on your own. And that is what I'm starting to see in home theater, right? You better have a good dealer, because otherwise you're out of luck unless you go with SVS, right? I've heard a lot of different subwoofers and, youth men and people like that. And I'm just saying him because he's got a big channel and he pushes JTR. Have y'all ever heard a JTR speaker? You probably got to fly to Florida to hear his. Other than that, nobody really has them because they are industrial looking. People don't want that in their living room, right? He may say people have them. He goes to different theaters and stuff like that. People may have them. I don't know if those people are dealers or affiliates. I don't know. Like, we're just viewers. We don't know the reality of what's going on. But, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of rich people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say no names on my main channel. People know I know, like, a lot of celebrities that have a lot of theater systems. And I do not see JTRs in any of them systems. But are they the best? Are they in-game? Or is Youth Man just telling you they're in-game? I've heard 18-inch subwoofers not sound so great. Perlistons, I didn't think they were as great as the people make them seem. Is the JTR the same situation? I don't know. It's like, can you call and talk to JTR? Do you have to send like an email in order to order them? And then you got to pay for shipping and get them there, and shipping and get them back if you don't like them and all. And by the time you paying like $500 some in shipping to see if you like these things. And I watched one real person who had a JTR speaker on YouTube, right? And they ordered the Captivator, I think it was the 2400 ULF, or 4000 ULF, right? And it arrived with a woofer that had an air leak. And then they had to wait until, like, the person from JTR mailed them, like, another woofer for them to install themselves. So that's the only time I ever heard, like, a real person having a JTR speaker. And why are they priced so high? Like a JTR speaker, like a RS2 or so, you pay like $4,000 and something for something that you've never heard before because of a YouTuber telling you it's great. Like, it's just, like, why are these things not at, like, when I go to Audio Advice, I don't see them. When I go to Exponent, I don't see them. When I go to a lot of these trade shows, I don't see them. Why don't you see these things if they're so great? It's just like home theater, bro. Like, a lot of us, like younger people, are hip to, I don't want to say scams, but when people try to get over on you, I am not opposed to spending money if the product warrants it, right? When I heard an AVM 90 through Anthem, I'm like, I got to have that. Or, when I heard a 1140, I was like, oh, that thing sounds good. Dealer had one. I'm like, oh, that thing sounds good. I've got a Cinema 50, I've got a Denon 3800H, RZ50 and all that. It blew those away, right? So I'm like, oh, man. So separates? Everybody's talking about separates. Let me go to separates. Let me see what this AVM 90 is about. Blew me away. Could not tell the difference between a Trent-off and an AVM 90, sound-wise. And I don't know if the Trent-off maybe had like a different like DAC at the time. I don't know. But I'm starting to think that's just a dealer unit to get you to buy extra stuff. You buy a Trent-off, you run 13 channels, you want to have 4 subwoofers. Guess what? You got to buy an external DAC after paying $18,000 for an Altitude 16. You think Shane Lee and these people are going to tell you that? No. You go on the forums, you're going to find out quick, and you're going to get hit up by a lot of dealers. Oh, I can help you out. Ooh, I can sell you this. And it's like, they know, okay, this fool about to pay $18,000 for a processor. Let me get this money from him. That's how they thinking. So I don't, and then Youth Man's about to do a review on a Trent-off. So it's, I'm wondering, are these people getting like review units? Are they actually buying them? Are they getting huge discounts when they have them? Because I've seen YouTube home theater people start out, obviously like everybody else. They're humble. Okay, like I like this, I like that. It's my theater system. There's movies I listen to. Then they get a little bit more popular, and then here comes the suppliers. You know what I mean? Or the manufacturers. hey, won't you, you can hold on to this for a couple months, just review it. Or, they're going to get a positive review out of it. And then they get bought out, you know what I mean? Or turned. And then they become sold out and they'll sell you on anything. Next thing you know, you're going to see, oh, Kaleidescape. Oh, this is in-game. Like this is, Kaleidescape is not in-game. It's not. At least in my experience, this is not in-game. My UB820 outperforms my Kaleidescape 90% of the time in reliability. 99% of the time in reliability. You barely can tell the difference with quality. If anything, sometimes I feel like the Kaleidescape looks better because it's got better tone mapping and you don't need to buy a Mad VR. That's another thing. You buy the Kaleidescape and you ask them like, hey, how come the UB820 looks a little bit more dynamic than this thing? Oh, well, you got to buy a Mad VR. Now you got to pay $5,000-$6,000 for a Mad VR just to get. So you're paying like $4,400 for a Kaleidescape. Then you got to pay $5,000 for a Mad VR. So now you in deep $9,500 for it to look like a $400 and something 4K UHD player. Well, they got the money. That's what I'm finding out dealing with this. The scams have got to stop. People get more real. You know what I mean? Y'all got consumer bases out here. I understand y'all super cool with the manufacturers and y'all probably always wanted to do this and be dealers and make money on the side. That's what it's about, right? But the manufacturers need to start bringing down the cost, making things more reasonable, and, putting the stuff in places where people can hear them. Why am I going to buy a Captivator 2400? Just because I heard somebody say it's good? I haven't heard it. SVS is everywhere. You can hear them everywhere. You can hear it at Best Buy. You can hear it everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's like home theater is very, very interesting to me. But this Kaleidescape has taught me one thing. Be very careful about what you buy, because these people will sell you anything. Snake oil salesman is a lot of these people. And they'll look you in your face looking at camera with a straight face and say, it measured good. These speakers, these Perlistons measure great. Go listen to them. Go listen to Perliston speakers and then listen to some Polk R700s. And tell me that the Perliston blew away the Polk R700s. I'm surprised at Polk R700s when I go to these shows have not been embarrassed by anything. The only thing that embarrassed Polk R700s to me is the Revela 2s. Other than that I've heard, I'm like, yo, these Revela 2s is insane. The Focal, they look old, like old people speakers. You know what I mean? They sound okay. But like nothing is embarrassing Polk R700s. Maybe I would say the Martin Logans. What like the F100s or something like that sound a little bit better, or the 150s or whatever sound one better. They sound better. But other than that, like I don't be hearing nothing. But then things be like 7 times the cost. You be like, why? I was like exponent hearing like $60,000 speakers. Like, why is it $60,000? Just because it looks weird? Like, it doesn't sound like a $60,000 speaker. Even the Nautilus, $100,000 speaker. I heard those and was underwhelmed. Like, what? Insane, bro. Home theater is insane. And the people with the money, like all them old guys that are starting to get to the point where they're having hearing loss or hearing issues. You know what I mean? Like, or retiring and don't want to be spending money. Like, this is what a home theater is going to suffer, because people are not going to listen to these home theater channels just trying to scam them all day. And once you find out like 1 or 2 things have been not what they said that it's supposed to be, you're going to turn away from it. Which is sad, because I think home theater is cool. I'd rather watch movies at home. The cool thing about Kaleidescape is what they try to market and say, oh, you get the movies like soon as they release from theater, and it's the uncompressed copy. They compress everything. It's just less compressed than a disc. Another thing is what they lie about. Like now, new releases come out the same time as Apple TV. The only difference is you can, download the best quality of it at the time. right? Because you got to wait to get the disc, the 4K UHD disc. But as far as like most movies come out at the same time as Apple TV. Nothing, since I've had this kaleidescape, nothing's come out like earlier than Apple TV. Nothing. I don't care what Shane Lee says, these people say. Nothing's come out earlier. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Take everything, you hear from people with a grain of salt. And I'm just being real because I don't feel like a lot of people are. And I could put this on my channel that got 50 million views, 127,000 subscribers, but I don't want to do that. I'm doing it on this channel. And maybe I'm just going to buy products and keep it real with y'all and tell y'all what it is. But this kaleidescape is not what it is. You got to buy like a $12, $13, $1,400 remote control to turn it off. Unless you get an old Harmony or Elite that's not manufactured anymore. It's crazy. But y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. I'm out, y'all. Peace.